Hey YouTube, welcome to another edition of the Nurse Lounge. My name is Dr. Marita P, and I want to welcome you to this channel. So I want to say, first of all, hopefully you all enjoyed those Nurses Week's videos. I did 8 videos for you that was dedicated to Nurses Week, and I got a lot of feedback on those videos, and I'm so glad that you enjoyed them for the most part. I plan on keeping the momentum going and bringing you more nursing content as well as other things. But today is a nursing video that was requested by some of you. And that video is, tell us about your journey. Tell us how you got from the BS in psychology to the DNP recently. So if you would like to hear my story, please stay tuned. All right, and so we're back. My name is Dr. Marita P. If you don't know me, I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for almost 16 years. It'll be 16 years in June. I'm an OB/GYN well baby nurse and a nurse educator, nurse mentor, and hopefully a nurse consultant here soon. Many people have already asked me, tell us about your journey. Tell us what inspired you. Tell us how you got from where you were to now having a doctoral degree. So this is what this video is. Per your request, I'm going to go through that story. Go ahead and get you something to drink, a snack, because it is a story. I have 4 degrees and there's a story behind every one of them. So be prepared. This is going to be a pretty long video. I will try to keep it as short as possible, but we're talking about 4 degrees of my life, 20 something years of, well, not 20 years, but from 1996 to 2020. So what is that? 22 years? Yeah. 22 years of education. So it's going to be a long video. All right. So my journey started, let's go back to high school. I went to high school from 1992 to 1996. And well, let's go back before high school. I am a first generation college graduate, okay? So my mother and my father, neither one had high school education themselves. They were having babies very, very young, and as a result of that, they never finished high school. And they grew up in a time period that when you got pregnant, you had to get married. There was not an option for that. You had to get married, not like it is today. So with that being said, I have 4 siblings that was born way before I was, and I was, yes, probably what you call that oops baby, the one that was not planned for at all. My brother was 18 years old when I was born. He was the baby, and then 18 years later, I came. So I grew up as an only child, even though I have 4 older siblings. Okay, so I wanted to preface that by saying my mom and dad pushed education because they didn't have one, okay? They did not have an education, so therefore it was very important for them to make sure that all their children, including me, got a really good education. So where I lived in an area, it wasn't a bad area per se, but a lot of riffraff or things was going on over there. And so we didn't have the luxury to just move to a better area, or I didn't have the privilege to go to a private school. So in high school, my 4 years of high school was just that. It was high school. It was very traditional in the sense of what you do in high school. I was loving the boys, loving the just high school life, going to the basketball games, football games, dating this person, dating that person. That's just what I did. And with that being said, I was never per se focused on college. I knew I wanted to go to college, but again, there was not a push or desire to say, okay, you got to make good grades to get there. So I was a B, C student. It was a class. I always made honor roll. So I always made usually A, B honor roll. So I wasn't a bad student, but I was just one of those who I was never really pushed per se. And honestly, my mother did not know how to help me. My parents did not know how to help me because again, I'm getting a level of education that they didn't even acquire at that point in time. And to make it more relatable to today, I have a son who's going to the 6th grade. But the things that they do in school, We didn't do to like the 8th, ninth grade. So they're doing things so much earlier now where I can't even help him. I'm like, we got to find a tutor for you. So imagine me having education but can't help my son because they're doing things more advanced than what we did in 6th grade, as an example, where my parents had no education at all, so they could not really help me and really steer me in the right direction. So anyway, fast forward, I get through high school. I was probably like 2.89 GPA, that kind of student. So I was never, I don't want you to think like, oh, she's always had it together. No, I did not have it together at all. And so I basically had to, when I made up my mind that it was time for me to focus on college, I was probably in my senior year. But that's too late. You can't raise your GPA the last year. You have to have been working on that since freshman year. So now I'm serious about going to college. I have to take the SATs and ACTs. And of course I don't score well on those at all. Because again, I'm not really a good test taker, and then prep and things like that. I just wasn't good. And again, I didn't have any direction. She knew she wanted us to go to college. She knew she wanted me to do well, but she did not know, I'm talking about, she is my mom, did not know how to get me there. And I'm not blaming, she's deceased now, so I'm not blaming her for anything. I'm just saying that was just the nature of what our lives were like back then. I had a very good childhood, very good parents. It was nothing like that. It's just that they did the best they did the best they could with what they knew and what they had. So that's kind of what I'm saying. When you know better, you do better type of thing. All right, so now I finished high school. I applied to college, and I got accepted at the local university, but we have 2 campuses. One campus was your main campus, and one was like a satellite campus. And because I had such low grades, I had to go take a remedial math class, and I had to go to the satellite campus first. I had to prove to them that I was able to work in college life and do the things that we do in college and keep up with college level work, because my grades did not dictate, and my ACT and SAT scores did not dictate that I could keep up with college life. So, and going back to our counselors, we did not have great school counselors either. There was no one who was looking for scholarships for us. There was no one who was really trying to direct us into which career path we wanted to have. There was no one who was really doing that. It was just checking the boxes to make sure you graduated is what they were basically doing. So when it came to me getting my guidance counseling, or whatever you want to call it, when it comes to career choices, they're like, well, what do you think you're interested in? And I said, oh, I enjoyed that psychology class in the 11th grade. I think I want to do that. I think I want to, major in psychology. So they're like, that's great. So, I had to go to this other, satellite school to get those remediation courses out the way. Once I got enough credit hours, I was able to transfer over to the main campus at that point in time. It took me from 1996, which is when I graduated from high school and also started college that same year, to 2002 to finish that degree. So you're probably like, what was you doing that long? From 96 to 2002, having babies. So I end up meeting up with, we live close to a military town. And so military town, girls, soldiers, how that mixes. So anyway, I met a soldier, and I was young. I had my first daughter at 20 years old, and I had my second daughter at 22 years old. So that's what I was doing from 96. I didn't get pregnant till 97, had her in 98, then got pregnant in 2000 early, and had my second daughter in late 2000, December of 2000. And so at that point in time, I'm like, okay, now I have 2 girls, I'm up here having fun and carrying on, but at the same time, okay, the reality hit me that, okay, you have 2 more mouths to feed, and they are depending on you to do something with your life and not just keep having babies and things like that. So, and before anybody says anything, I was on birth control. We wasn't trying to have any children. I knew I wasn't ready for that. So I was on birth control, and it didn't work. That may be too much information for some people, but I'm very much a realist, and I'm gonna tell the story exactly how it was. I was on birth control. I was on the pill, and I took it like I was supposed to take it. It just wasn't strong enough, is what the doctor concluded. But anyway, so I, had my girls. I had to get it together at that point in time. What are you going to do? What are you really going to do with your life? I was loving the psychology thing. Loved it. I loved my classes. I did pretty good considering on my classes. And then somehow, maybe because I was pregnant and I had to drop out, I think, for a semester or two. And then came back to school. And I think, and I didn't know the proper way to drop classes either. So I just stopped showing up. I didn't even show up to class anymore. So therefore, I got all F's or FAs, failure to attend, and then it converted from FAs to F's. So my GPA dropped down to a 0.8. That's how low it got. So this is within that 96 to 2002 time span. It dropped down to a 0.8 because I did not, this is after the first baby, this is not the second one. I did not know the proper way to withdraw from classes. I had 8 o'clock classes with a pregnancy, getting sick and nauseous. It just wasn't happening for me. So I just didn't know how to go about doing things the correct way. So I had to do a restart program. And then I got back into college and I got it together at that point in time. Then had the second baby and then, went like that. So my first degree, my major was psychology. My minor was secondary education. The plan was to teach psychology in high school. That was my ultimate goal, was to teach high school psychology. Well, again, no one's preparing me. No one is telling me exactly what I need to do and that you can or can't do certain things. And this is how it works. So I was in a situation where I didn't find out until, I want to say 2001, that I could not do anything with this degree unless I got a PhD. So there's a class called Careers in Psychology that was a 1,000 level course. I decided, because I came under a new bulletin, I decided to take that my last year. I was like, it's going to be an easy A, 1 credit hour type of class. It was at that moment that I realized you can't do nothing with a degree in psychology unless you go get your master's and PhD. Well, I have 2 little girls. I need something where I can go ahead and come out and work right now. And the only thing I could do at that moment was work for what we call DHS here, or you may call it Department of Human Services. And even back then, I would have made like $10 an hour. And minimum wage was probably like $4, $5 an hour, maybe $5.15 an hour or something like that. So making $10 an hour back then was pretty good money. But when you had to pay for childcare, you're only making $400 a week. Then you have taxes coming out, insurance coming out, and then you have to pay for childcare. How was I going to pay the rest of my bills? So at that point in time right there, I was like, okay, well, how are you going to take care of these girls? Reality hit me, and it hit me quick. It hit me real quick. And so I had to come up with a solution like ASAP. Now, at this point in time, I've already moved out on my own. I was living in my own apartment. It was what we call affordable or low income housing. And I was paying probably like $30 a month in rent because it's based on your income. And I wasn't really working that much because I was in school. And because I am the statistic at this point, because I have 2 girls, out of wedlock, single parent, the whole 9, I'm getting food stamps, grants for school, and things like that. Food stamps, WIC, you name it. Whatever I needed, I got it. And so with that being said, here we are at a crossroad in 2001. In 2001, I had to make a decision. Do I change majors right now, or do I finish this degree and then apply to do something else? Well, why nursing? Why nursing? So when I had my second daughter in 2000, I had her, she had to go to the NICU for 6 days. I had her at 35 weeks and 35 weeks and some days. And she was born in December. And I remember thinking to myself at that point in time, maybe I could do something like this. Maybe I could be a nurse. But then as soon as that thought came, it left, because I was like, okay, no, that you have to be smart to be a nurse. And I'm not smart enough. My grades show it, prove it. I don't know who made me feel why I thought I wasn't intelligent enough to be a nurse, but that's what I thought. But it was nothing but God said, hey, go ahead and apply for that program anyway. So, and when it comes to what governs me or what directs me, I have to say it's a lot of prayer and a lot of just like God moves you to where you need to be. Okay. So if you're not spiritual, you don't believe in that, this may not be the video for you, because I'm very much a spiritual kind of person where I feel like there's certain things that definitely guide you and push you where you need to go. Again, my mom and dad encouraged me, but there was nothing they can do to really direct me because they didn't know. Okay. They didn't know how any of this worked because they didn't do it. And so, something said, just go ahead and finish this degree. It doesn't make sense to change degrees at the very last, at the very end. Finish this degree and then apply. While you're waiting to finish this, go ahead and apply for nursing school, because our program only let you in one once per year. They allowed 80 students per year to come in. So when it comes to the 80 students, you know, you hoping you're a part of the 80. Otherwise, you're on the waiting list, and then otherwise you can come, or you can reapply for the next year. So here we are. I'm now getting serious about what my career path is going to be. I'm thinking nursing may actually be it for me. There are no nurses in my family. I've never met, at that point in time, I had never met a black nurse. Nursing is nothing that resonated with me in terms of like, oh, aunt such and such is a nurse, I want to do what she does. No, I dealt with a lot of death growing up because I, again, had older parents, therefore I had older grandparents, therefore dealt with a lot of death with them. I was never drawn to it. The smell of a hospital would make my stomach turn. The smell of the nursing home back then would make my stomach turn. So I was never drawn to nursing from that standpoint, even when death was surrounding me, because I had grandparents and uncles and just, you know, older members of the family who was passing away. And I'm like I'm not five, I was like 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. So I'm very familiar with death at this point in time of my life. But then, you know, that's the only connection I had from hospital, healthcare, things like that, was from that time period. So if anything, that was an aversion, not something to say, hey, come to nursing. So again, I had no framework, no nothing to say this is what I really wanted to do, because it was not something that I thought I could do. So I applied to nursing school. I'm still doing my degree in psychology at this point in time. I found out at the same time that in order to teach psychology in high school, you also have to teach economics and teach history. I cannot stand history or economics. So again, it would have been great if somebody had prepped me. I had someone who can guide me, guidance counselors, to say, okay, what do you really want to do? Do you realize you have to do this, 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 and this is what's going to turn into? No one did that. So since no one did that, I don't know if I can say I wasted that many years, because now in hindsight, psychology helps me tremendously in nursing. So it's quite beneficial now. But at the time, I'm like, okay, I wasted all this time, you know, with this degree, and then yada, yada, yada. So I applied to nursing school my last year of my psychology program. I got accepted to 3 programs, but they were all conditional because I needed a lot of prereqs. Well, the school that I was already going to for psychology, I only needed 12 credit hours of prereqs. The other 2 schools, I needed, like, one, I needed 30 hours before I could get into the program. And the other one was a private school. And I wasn't making it at a public school financially, so I knew I couldn't afford the private school. So I don't even know why I applied there anyway. Again, no guidance. But I did get conditionally accepted. So I'm finishing 1 degree. I'm conditionally accepted into the nursing program at the same school. And what I had to take was 3 science classes. I had to take 2 chemistry classes, their labs, and a microbiology class in its lab that summer. So picture it, okay? I'm acting like Sophia from Golden Girls. Picture it. 2002. I am finishing up my degree in psychology, and in order to start nursing school, this is May 2002. In order to finish up my degree, to start my new program in nursing in August of 2002, so May to August, I have to get those 3 classes done that summer. If any of you all know how summer sessions work, we had an 8-week summer session, and I had to take 3 science classes. These classes are difficult to take even if it's a 16-week semester, let alone an 8-week semester. So imagine having 2 science classes, or 3 science classes, 2 chemistries, a lab, a microbiology, and a lab, which are not easy classes. I don't do well in chemistry at all. And having 2 kids, 2 little girls, who was probably, let's see, in 2002, that means my daughter was 4 and going on 2. Because around May-ish, June-ish, she would have been about 18 months. So 4 and 18 months, little girls, and going to do that at the same time. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. I got up every morning. They were in childcare, so I had them in daycare. And I had like a state voucher where the state would pay for so much of my daycare if I was in school full time, and if I worked full time, or either in school full time or worked or combination thereof. So maybe I did 20 hours of work plus, so many hours of school. If it equaled a full-time job, they would pay for my childcare for me. And that was a program that back in 90 in the what 2000 early 2000s. So I'm not sure if they have programs like that now, but that's kind of what I had back then. And so, and then for my other degree in psychology, I worked, but I worked on campus. I did work study. I did work study. I worked in two child care facilities doing after school care. Those are kind of jobs that I had. So I did work. I just worked either work study or the child care jobs I told you I had. So that's how I made it through there. And then, so the summer comes, I take those classes, I succeed, and then I get my letter of acceptance, full acceptance into nursing program at that point. So with me already having a bachelor's degree in psychology, a lot of my classes transferred over into that program. That's why I only needed 3 classes. So my statistics classes transferred, my English, my psychology, a lot of my classes transferred over. The only thing I didn't have, my AMP transferred over into that program. So the only thing I didn't have was those three classes. That was the only thing holding me from getting into the program. And so anyway, I was successful in those classes, and I ended up going to nursing school starting August of 2002, and I graduated in 2004. And so that was a journey within itself. Nursing school was not easy, especially having 2 little girls, going to clinicals and things like that. You have to make sure you have childcare lined up. You have to make sure, even if if the daycare closed, the school's still open, you have to have everything lined up. And I had a great support system for that. I have great friends who rotated to keep the girls for me. My mom and dad at that time would go pick them up from daycare. And I remember having ER rotation for clinicals where it was 11 to 11, I want to say, midday to 11 to 11. And so my parents had to go to the daycare at 6 and pick them up and then bring them back to my apartment and get them ready for bed and baths and things like that until I came home. And then they went back to their house when I came home at 12 o'clock at night. And then I had to get up the next morning and go to class the next morning. Nursing school was no joke for me, especially having 2 little girls, being a single parent, but I did it because I was determined that these girls was going to have the best life that I could provide for them. And it's not their fault that they were here. It's not their fault that their dad was not supportive. And matter of fact, still not supportive because, they're legally adults now. They're 20, my girls are 21 and 19. And I'm still getting child support to this day because he was that much of a deadbeat father. So if that makes sense to you, because he was so far behind in child support that I'm still getting child support payments. And they're adults. It comes to me, but depending on what they need, I may give them the money or pay me back for taking care of them all this time. So for doing what we're supposed to do, basically, as a parent. Anyway, so, I got through those struggles of nursing school. It never at that point dawned on me to, hey, go back and get your master's degree. That was the farthest thing from my mind. Like, why would I want to do something like that? So after I got I think if I told you in the other videos, and I may link that one with this one, that, I had to pass the HESI, which is our exit exam. I did fine in nursing school. I made A's, B's. I made 1C in nursing school, so I did great. I was committed. I was dedicated. I had showed myself something that I had never showed myself before. I didn't even realize if I had had that kind of skill set in mind, that mindset in high school, I could have had probably a 3-point-something GPA. But no, it was never pushed in me. I was never driven and determined. And so some people are like, well, what made you so determined to make it at this point in time? Well, it was those little girls. I had to take care of my girls. Nobody else was going to take care of them. The father was not going to take care of them. So I had to take care of my girls. So therefore, I did what I had to do. And I took nursing school very seriously. And it was impressed upon us in nursing school that this is a very serious profession. You don't fly through nursing school and think you can go out there and do something willy-nilly and you can kill someone. I don't want to be responsible for killing anyone. So, I took nursing school very seriously. And I did, like I said, a very good job in nursing school. But that HESI is what hung me up at the very end. So I got to walk in, I failed the HESI twice. The third time I passed it. And I got to walk in May, but my degree says August on it because of the fact that it just took me so long to graduate, or to actually officially graduate. So thank God they let me walk anyway, because I don't remember, because by August I was already working. So I finished in May, I walked in May. I didn't officially graduate in terms of them till August. However, they sent my stuff to the boards. I took my boards on July Well, I don't know when I took them. I took them in July. I do know that. I took them in July of 2004. And so that means I graduated in May. I worked, I had a job already lined up as a new grad. And because I got a scholarship for nursing school, I had to work at a certain kind of facility, HCA facility, if you all are familiar with HCA hospitals. And so I had to move from one city to the next because that's where the HCA hospitals were. So I moved, but I didn't move. I drove from the hospital. I drove from my house in one city to the hospital that I was hired to in another city. I didn't want to move if I didn't pass the boards. There was no point of me moving closer to my job if I did not pass my boards. So I stayed where I was at. And then what I did was I studied and studied and studied and studied. And then, of course, when my time came to take my boards, I took my boards. And I don't remember, again, when I took the test exactly what date, but I do remember July 31st is when I got the notification that I had passed my boards. And matter of fact, it was my manager who called me and said, congratulations, you're now officially a registered nurse. I'm like, how's she know? How's she know and I don't know? And it was a Sunday at that. So I'm like, how's she know and I don't know? And it's because they check them boards. You know, if you take that test and they hire you to be a registered nurse, they're going to check them boards because they know when you took the test. Because you usually have to report that to them when you're taking your test. So I was like, okay, well, she knew before I did. So on July 31st of 2004 is when I was deemed a registered nurse at that point in time. So, again, remember my degree says August, but July 31st, 2004, I'm a registered nurse at this point in time. And now I'm actually fully into my duty as I get a new badge and everything, fully into my duty as a registered nurse and not a nurse graduate or whatever they call them when you are new to the floor. So I had a terrible first year of nursing. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And I have that video somewhere in the list. Yeah, I think it was my first year as a nurse is the name of that video. But it was a terrible first year, so I won't go through all that here. You can go look at that video to see how my first year went. But let's just say at that point in time, I realized, you know what, let me back up. So before I got the job that I got at the hospital that I work at, I had another interview at this other hospital. And I get to the interview, and when they told me I had to work night shift, I started crying at the interview. Yes, I started crying at the interview because I couldn't believe that I got to this point in time and no one told me that new nurses pretty much start off on night shift. And I'm like, if I'm moving to a brand new city, there's no daycares that are open 24 hours, nor do I want my little girls to be at daycare 24 hours. Who am I going to get to watch my girls at night, overnight? And then my oldest daughter was actually in school, you know, so who am I going to get to watch my kids? And I'm telling you, I was devastated at the interview. So needless to say, I didn't get the job, but I did get another job. And of course, at that point in time, I knew I had to work nights. So it is what it is on that. And so I got my job. I'm working nights or whatever. And this is when I realized at this point in time, it didn't take me long at all to realize this ain't gonna cut it. I can't believe I've done not only 1 degree, but 2 degrees. And I cannot stand what I do. I love OB, but the wear and tear on your body for being a night shift nurse, number 1. Number 2, they treated me so poorly. The nurses treated me so poorly. I was only about 26 years old at that point in time. 26 years old with my 2nd degree, 2 girls, and I hated my job. It got to the point where I would have physical symptoms. So I would actually be fine when I was off, but then it would be time to go to work. And as I get ready to go to work, my stomach would start hurting, headaches, nausea, diarrhea, all kinds of GI symptoms that I'll start having because I hated this job so much. And I have plenty of stories from that job, so I'll do a story time another day. But about my first diabetic coma patient that I had. But you know, I basically, you know, I realized at that point in time, I said, what did I get myself into? I hate my job. They deemed me as being angry. This is the nurses. They said that I was angry. They said that that I needed counseling. They said that maybe this is not the profession for you. And I had started believing a lot of that stuff. I really had started believing a lot of those types of things. And I'm kind of like, okay, why do they think I'm so angry? And in hindsight, I don't think I was angry. I think I feel like I was set up. I felt like I was being the target. I was targeted. I felt like that's just what it was. I was the target. I was young. I was new. And because of where I was at, I was black. And that was the issue to a lot of these people. I even had a situation, and this is another whole story time, but basically a situation where it was an interracial couple. And again, I do OB, and so it's an interracial couple. I'm in orientation still, but I'm working night shift now. I'm in my nighttime orientation, and he was black and the mom was white, and he was very flirtatious with me and everybody else. So then a nurse went into the room to see about the baby, and that nurse came out to tell my preceptor and said, "Hey, that patient said she didn't like the nurse, and she didn't know why. She didn't have a reason, but she just really didn't like her." And so my preceptor says, you need to go and make right with them. They said, you need to make right. You need to apologize to them and basically correct, do what we call service recovery or correct your wrong. I said, I'm not doing no such thing. I can't help it that her boyfriend is flirtatious and that he was looking at me and he was trying to talk to me. That's not my problem. So I'm not going to go apologize for things like that. So, and I didn't. And I'm glad I had a backbone back then. I'm glad that I was beginning to develop a backbone even in my first year. Really not only probably 6 months of nursing that I began to develop a backbone. But anyway, I cried so much that first year that I was like, you know what? I cannot do this for the next 30 years. I cannot be a floor nurse for the next 30 years. So at that point in time, I decided that I was going to work my full year and then transfer to another hospital. I moved to Texas for 3 weeks after that. So I did my first year at this hospital. I moved to Texas. And I hated it in Texas. I went to Houston, hated it in Houston. The people, I just didn't like Texas at all. And I didn't like the hospital that I was going to go to. I didn't like anything. And my mom was getting homesick at this point in time. Or homesick. No, she was sick that I was not home. And so anyway, between that situation or whatever, I came back within 3 weeks. And so I came back, moved back home with my mom, and basically started all over again. And then at this point in time, I said, you know what? I'm not sure if nursing is really for me. I said, I don't feel like I'm accepted here. I know what to do. I know how to do everything. I'm getting better at it at least. But I don't feel like I have the support of the people who I need to have support from in nursing. So I'm kind of like, okay, what do I want to do? And I can't be miserable like this for my whole career. So at that point in time, I only have a year out of school. At that point in time, I said, you know what? You need to see about that master's program. And I'm telling you this now, you always get a degree when you don't need it. Don't wait and get your degree when they say, okay, because they did somebody that made you so mad, now you got to have a degree. And then you got to wait another 2 to 3 years to get the degree before you can make another move. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to be strategic about this. I'm going to go ahead and pursue this master's degree. So when I'm truly fed up with bedside nursing, now mind you, it's 2020 and I'm still at bedside nursing. So when I'm truly fed up with bedside nursing, I can truly make an exit out into something else. So that was part of my plan. I'm a big planner. I always want to plan at things and how I do things. And so I did just that. I planned and planned and planned. So I came back from Texas, stayed with my mom, stayed there for a month, her house for a month to kind of regroup and figure out what I wanted to do. And then I applied to the MSN program and I got accepted. And I started the MSN program in, I want to say August of 2005. So I just finished 2004, nursing school. So August of 2005, I enrolled in my master's program. So I only waited a whole year before I enrolled because I knew that I was not going to be a floor nurse forever. And you always want to plan ahead. Because when you need to pull that card, you want to pull that card. When there's an opportunity to move, you want to be able to move because you already have the credentials you need to move. When they say, hey, we need somebody with a master's degree to do this, I just slide my credentials across the table because I already got it. So with that being said, when I went to go apply for nursing school and go talk to the program people about it, they said, hey, do you want to teach? And I'm like, mind you, I'm only about 18 months out of school. I said, teach what? They said, well, don't you do OB? I said, yeah, I do. I said, was it a paying gig? Because if it don't pay, I can't volunteer my time. I have 2 little girls. I have to work. She said, yes, we pay. She said, the only thing is you have to be in your master's program for at least 1 semester before we can hire you. I said, okay. Now, mind you, it's August. So that means I can't start until the next semester because that's the policy. So I'm still working as a floor nurse at this I end up getting, what ended up happening? I ended up, this is in 2006, I want to say. So now I started in 2005. January 2006 comes back around, and I get an email saying, "Are you still interested in the teaching position?" And I'm like, "Of course." So I started that job in March of 2006, and then I had a situation at another hospital, which I have a video for that. The Get Ready With Me uh, story time. I will probably either link that somewhere or put it in the cards. But Get Ready With Me story time. I had that, and that situation led me to quit that job. And then as a result of that situation, I had now my teaching gig, but I didn't have my hospital gig anymore. So then I ended up getting a job. Somebody knew somebody. They created a position at the hospital that I'm currently working at now. I've been there since 2006. So in March of 2006, I started teaching. In May of 2006, I started my other hospital job where I'm at right now, PRN. They didn't even have a position open. They didn't even have a PRN position. They created one for me. That's why it's important to know how to network. That's important to know people, And I'm going to do another whole video on networking versus degrees, which is more important. Anyway, I digress. So I got 2 jobs now. I'm doing fine. I start nursing school, not nursing school. I start my MSN program. Fast forward, I'm really, as I'm getting into my MSN program, trying to figure out what I want to do, nursing education really came to mind for me because I love to teach. I love to teach because remember, I was going to be a teacher, but in high school, because I told you I was going to get a degree in psychology so I could teach that class in high school because my minor is secondary education. So I'm like, okay, I can teach. I still love that. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I would love to do. And then OB, this is what I love to do. So I, have the opportunity to do that. So nursing education was a great fit for me, and I happen to love nursing education even still. So my master's was in nursing education. I went through that program I won't say without a hitch. There was advanced patho that took me out. In master's programs, there's an A. You can make an A, you can make a B, or you withdraw from the class. There is no C's in master's level work. So A, B, no C. You can't earn a C in a master's level course and graduate, okay? You can earn it on like an assignment in a class, but you can't earn it on a, you can't earn it as a grade. So I was basically failing advanced patho, so I dropped it. And then after that, I re-enrolled. At this point in time, now I'm pregnant with my son, okay? So now it's 2007. No, it's not. It's 2008. 2008, I am pregnant with my son, and I get through this program, and I walk across the stage in 2008, December, 20 weeks pregnant with my son. And I ended up doing very well. I had a 3.7 GPA when I graduated from my master's program. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I don't need no more degrees, okay? I got 3 at this point. I don't need any more degrees. Well, I realized when I was getting my master's, after I got my master's degree, and I realized that people were beginning to fall away from me in terms of people who are not destined to be in my path with me, I began to realize they were falling away. And as they're falling away, I'm beginning to see that where I'm fitting in and where I'm not fitting in. I'm beginning to see there's race issues where I'm working at. I'm beginning to see that people think that I'm that angry black woman. I'm beginning to see that people want to put you in a certain spot and don't want you to grow from that spot. I'm beginning to see that people have standards for you, but they don't have standards for themselves. I'm beginning to see that double standard. And so I'm beginning to realize, okay, you know what? You may have to create your own lane. And in order to create your own lane, you have to be in a position to create your own lane. So I had that son in 2009, in April 2009. And then I was dealing with having a baby, and I was still working my same jobs. And so I was learning again what it is to have a little baby all over again. And so then fast forward probably about 2012, I want to say, 11. I am pregnant again with my youngest son. And my old advisor, she kept pushing me. She's like, Marita, you need to get your doctoral. You need to get your DNP. And I'm like, child, I'm not getting no DNP. I'm too tired as is, with the babies and things like that. She said, well, when you stop having babies, you need to consider getting your DNP. You really need to go back to school. She said, you would make an excellent educator. Or she said, you are an excellent educator. She said, people don't like you because you have something special that they don't have. Don't take it. It is a negative thing to feel and to hear, but there's something special about you, because if you wasn't special, they wouldn't care. Think about that. If people who talk about you the most, if why are you on their mind? Why are, if they care? Otherwise, they wouldn't care. People that I don't really care for, I have no reason to talk about, because why I won't give them the energy. So when people are talking about you, it's because they actually care for whatever reason. They want to be like you. They I don't know. They're jealous of whatever's going on with them, but that's not your problem. And I had to learn that the hard way. I had to learn, why am I getting picked over for positions that I know I earned? I'm teaching someone to be over me who has less experience than I do. I'm teaching you to be my boss. Those rose-colored glasses start coming off at that point in time. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna have to go ahead and go back and get this DNP, because I need to be an age. I need to be able to make some rules. Okay, I need to be able to say, okay, this is what we're gonna do, not gonna do, and I can't do that in this role right here. So, in combination of her telling me, hey, you need to get your DNP. You need to get your DNP. When you finish having babies, get your DNP. And I'm like, okay, I think I might go ahead and do that. So in 2013, 14, I have a little bitty baby. He is now, 2 years old in 2014. And I'm like, okay, I can't afford to, and I have a daughter who was in high school at the time. I can't, my oldest one was in high school. My second one was in middle school. And then the first son was in elementary school. I had 4 kids in 4 different schools. I said, I can't do school right now. So my plan was to wait until the baby got to kindergarten and start school. Start school. So the more I worked, the more God pushed me to you need to go to this program. You need to go to school. You need to go to school. God said, I have something bigger for you. And sometimes what God does is he makes you uncomfortable, because he know you won't make a move on your own. He know that you get complacent and will stay right where you are because it's comfortable. And so he made things so uncomfortable for me. He made that work environment so uncomfortable for me that I said, you know what? Like I told you, you always plan for it. You strategically plan for this, and you come up with a way to get out of your situation. I wasn't quite ready to go yet, but when it came down to it, I knew when I got that degree, I'll be ready to go. So I applied, I researched things to death. I encourage you all to do a lot of research. Research your schools, see what the success rate is, graduation rate is, how much it costs, what is the employment outcome. You need to research all those things on your own before you go apply into schools. Make sure it's accredited. I cannot emphasize that enough. Make sure the school that you're applying for is accredited. If it's not accredited, your degree means nothing. It means nothing. You don't have a degree, okay? Because nobody else is going to take you. Your jobs want you to have a degree from an accredited institution. They want a license. They want a BSN, MSN, or whatever from an accredited institution. So if it's not accredited, you've wasted money and time. So do your research. But I did my research probably for a whole 2 years. I narrowed it down. I based it off of, okay, where I was going to have to go to school at, how often I have to travel to campus. I asked people who already had DNPs or a terminal degree, what I need to look for in a school. They told me their advice, and I ended up at Union University, which is in Jackson, Tennessee. And when I tell you that process for me to get into that program was seamless, I'm not saying it wasn't easy. It was seamless, meaning I applied by April of 2017. Now my son was supposed to start kindergarten in August of 2017. So April of 2017, I got my letter that said that they wanted to interview me for my position. April 3rd, I went in for my interview for my spots, because we interviewed for our spots from our DNP. April 28th, the day after my birthday, I got my acceptance letter to the DNP program, and I started that program July of 2017. And as you all know, I finished April 28th of 2020 this year. So my journey is just that, it's a journey. It wasn't a destination, it's a journey. A journey means you go, you just keep moving and keep moving and keep moving. A destination means there's an end, okay? I'm still growing within my profession of nursing. I think what has shifted me is because of the fact that, for one, I have kids to take care of. Number two, anywhere you're not meant to be, there's going to be a way to get you out of there. Whether that means you get fired, which I didn't get fired from anything, but get fired, you get made to feel uncomfortable. When things are not your fault and things keep happening to you, especially like that, it's because you're not supposed to be there. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. It's like a bad relationship. If he don't want you or she don't want you, let him go. Let it go. So if you're having a hard time, you know, things like that, let it go. I'm now in a position where I have options. People are like, why do you have all these degrees? Because I have options. And there's nothing better than having options. So when one job want to act funky, I'm like, okay, bye. Because I got 3 other jobs. I don't have to depend on anything else. I'll go find, matter of fact, that may have been my discretionary money anyway. Who cares about that? That means I can't go shopping. Okay, that's fine. I have options. Degrees equal options. Now that I have my doctoral degree, it's going to move me into a whole different world. I don't have to be bedside anymore. I don't have to deal with the politics. Now, mind you, I will still stay bedside PRN, like I said before. But I don't have to deal with the politics if I don't want to, of health, of the bedside nature of healthcare. I now can teach online if I want to teach online. I can now teach always in a classroom if I want to teach in a classroom. I could be a dean or director of a program. I could do all kinds of things, make decent money, and live something like a normal life and not have to do these 12-hour shifts anymore. Degrees mean options, okay? And the more options you have, the better off you'll be with your life. So hopefully this video has helped you in some way understand why I did what I did, why I have all these degrees, what am I doing with all these degrees? Because I've been moved and guided by God to say this is where you're supposed to be. And I'm going to take you through those steps. I'm going to take you through the heartache. I'm going to take you through that crying. I'm going to take you through all that because you're going to be a better person at the end. And keep in mind, adversity is what makes you strong. So you can't be a strong woman if you hadn't been through anything. Think about it. Strong people, people who are strong and endured, is because they've been through adversity. And they've come out of it. They may have some bruises. They may be tearful. But they came out of it, and what they came out of, they learned from it. It made them stronger. So I impress upon you the importance of making sure that you do what's good for you. You get your education that you need to have to make sure it's good for you and your children if you have children, or your future children if you plan to have children. Don't let anybody make you settle for what they want you to settle for. You go as far as you want to go. I tell people all the time, even today, I have a DNP. Yes, I do. But there is no ceiling for me. Let that sink in. There's no ceiling for me. There's no limit is what I'm trying to say. There's a floor, but there's no ceiling for me. I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to keep going until I can't go anymore, because there's a whole world out here that we can learn from. There's a whole lot of people we can learn from, and we need to move forward and do the best we can with what we have. And we need to be the agent of change and pull somebody up behind us and say, come on, let's do this together. So that is my story. That's how I got from the BS in psychology to the BSN in nursing to I got the BS in psychology in 2002, the BSN in 2004, the MSN in 2008, and of course the DNP here in 2020. And that's my journey. So I thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you all for those who watched it to the end. If you want to contact me, you will see my business email in the description box. You will also see my IG in the description box, and it will be right here or right here. You also see the YouTube banner at the top. You click one of those, it will take you directly to my IG page, which is the melaninrn_NPN. And that is basically my IG version of YouTube. It has my journey on there. So it's a blog page basically. I put memes on there, my journey, a few things about my kids and things like that, but basically it's the nursing page of this YouTube channel. So thank you so much. Comment, like, subscribe. Videos that you want me to do, leave them either here in the comment box, or definitely go over to the IG and DM me over there, or go ahead and email me at the business email that I provided below. And until the next time, you all take care. Bye-bye.